Hi guys, welcome into this week's interview with Blessing Bulus. Blessing Bulus is a multidisciplinary storyteller. She's a creative producer and co-founder at Azure Studios. Welcome, Blessing. Thank you very much for having time to come on our channel. So we'll just be asking a few questions so we don't take a lot of your time because I'm aware that you're tired and exhausted from your day on set. So how are you doing basically? So let's start on a lighter note. How are you doing basically?
I'm well, but tired if I'm being honest. But I mean, I'm well, I'm good.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. Thank you for being honest. So let's go straight into the question. Lesson. So our very first question is what was your first film production and how were you able to like put funding together to start your first project?
My first film outside of MTF or outside of film school was a commission project. My partner and I, Precious Ira Galachi, we set up a production company, as you rightly mentioned, Azure Studios. And in 2020, shortly after the pandemic, we were commissioned by a South African channel to produce a 13-episode scripted reality show. And so they pretty much gave us the funding to make the show. And that was pretty much my first project outside of film school. And it was exciting because that project sort of, gave me the privilege to, sort of validated my role as a producer because, of course, when we got the commission, it meant that we're in charge of, from ideation up until post-production and, being in film school, being taught, the A to Z of film production, but then having to have the opportunity to actually do that you have learned over a period of time, sort of bring everything to life, and having the opportunity to, assemble a crew, do location scouting, and, just go over the idea of the show and, shooting and handling post-production. It sort of brought the whole experience to light, and it gave me the confidence, I would say, to say that yes, I am not just a producer by word of mouth, but by the works that I have done. So yes, I would say that was my first main project. Yes.
Okay, so would you like to tell us the title of like the name of the series?
I thought I did. So it is called It's a Match.
Oh, a hair eating match. Okay, that's nice. So basically, so how did you pitch your story to them?
It was somebody that recommended our
Production company.
to them. So
Oh,
yeah.
oh, okay. So it wasn't as if you guys sourced the idea. Okay, so when somebody recommended your production company, yourself and Precious's production company, based on what you guys had done in the past, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's very nice. So we can now say, okay, it was based on referral, which is a very good thing, which a lot of people also benefit from in the industry. It's a person A will just refer you to person B and say, oh, you can work with these guys.
Yeah.
But which production have you guys done from start to finish that you had to pitch the idea, you had to source funding either by investors or by commission content? So, as a producer in the past for various documentaries, commercials, TV series, reality shows, what has helped you so far to make sure that you have like your project comes out excellently well as a producer?
I would say that my role as a producer really starts from when I get onboarded on a project, and usually it depends on the stages that I get involved in, but I like to get onboarded right before research, because that helps me to, also go through the research process and, get myself immersed in whatever project or whatever topic it is that we are going to be talking about. And once we are done with the research, we then come back as a team to say, what are we making? So say for instance, you go for a research trip and you have, let's just say you have 50 pages. Of course, you're not going to be filming all the 50 pages, because you then have to narrow your research to make it coherent, entertaining, and just pretty much ask those important questions as to what story do you want to tell, what perspective do you want to tell, and who do you need to meet to tell the story in the way that honors what you are saying and honors what you set out to do. So pretty much do the research, assemble a crew, and assemble, depending if it's fiction or non-fiction, get the location and shoot. And even during the course of production is also making sure that the production is well on track in the sense that, are we working within budget in terms of the creativity? Are we actually following the goals that we set out for the project that it is, in terms of creativity, and just ensuring that all of these things are put in place and that they are followed. And at the end of the day, you set whatever it is that you set out to tell, or whatever story that it is you set out to tell, you are happy with what you create. It's not like the message is lost somewhere in between. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's nice. So that means from you like to join in the development stage, way on to post production. What challenges and breakthroughs have you experienced in different stages of production?
Challenges. I would say that the challenges that I sometimes face, especially during research, maybe for documentaries, would be information, where you have a topic that you want to talk about, and you really need people to talk to you, and you need like information, you need documents. But then somehow, I mean, we are in an interesting country where some certain informations are meant or kept for some certain people. So having to have access to archival informations, or having access to speak with certain people, you get resistance from them. I would say that that's one challenge that I face in terms of going about research. Yes.
Oh, okay. So it's when you find yourself in such situations, how do you now handle it? Because at the end of the day, you still need to get information. At the end of the day, you need to put something together for you to be able to flesh out your story. When you have those challenges, I understand that there are challenges, however, but what do you do to make sure that you still get the right? Because I know when it comes to documentaries, they are very sensitive. You can't just create something that is, I know they are fictional documentaries, but at the same time, if your documentary is a real life story or it has to do with real life situation, you have to be intentional about it. You have to get the real source or the real answers to it. So how in situations that you find yourself having like a blocker or something, how do you like resolve it? How do you get the real information?
It's actually interesting that you asked this, because without saying too much about the project, one time we had a project that we're working on, and we needed to speak with a certain group of people in Benin, and we got a lot of pushback from them because it had to do with the culture of Benin, and it was a case of, no, as long as this person has said this, we are going to go with this. But what do you say about that? So in that instance where we're getting resistance from an institution, what we then did was to sort of bring in creativity to it, and we had to go another route, essentially, in making sure that we got the information that we needed, because they were not ready to give us the information that we both know that they had. But because they were working for an institution, we respected that, and we just had to go another route to get the information and get by, sort of tell the story in another way that does not disrespect the institution, but also telling the story as it is.
So, as an independent producer and as the co-founder of a production company. I'm aware that you have worked with both local and international funders, production companies. So how is the process like?
I would say that the only thing that makes it different, whether you're working with international production or local production, I would say is the process, because at the core of, any project is storytelling, and, storytelling transcends borders. So whatever story it is that you're telling is the same process, whether you're working with, aside from the funding in itself, I would say that the biggest difference would be our process, and not just us, but like the process of doing anything, really. I think that's just the biggest challenge. But every other thing, I think at the core of it is the storytelling, and storytelling in itself, transcends borders. And whether you're shooting in Nigeria or you're shooting anywhere in the world, the most important thing is, the story that you're telling, and the crew members that you're working with. You're talking about story, you're talking about passion. So I would say that it's just the processes that are different, and of course the budget. But other than that, I don't see there's no huge difference in, whether local or international production.
Okay, so apart from that, I noticed that a lot of producers, they struggle with budgeting, and even when some producers even get funding, you just hear that, oh, I couldn't complete my production due to budgeting. And I just feel that the essentials, the what makes the budget work, a lot of people are not even patient enough. They don't even have an idea. They just get funding from a certain person, especially from our own side of the world, and they just say, oh, the actor wants to collect this, or the talent wants to collect this amount, and they're giving the talent like more than 50% of the budget already, and the cast and crew members are not they're not getting paid properly. So how can we fix something like that, or how can we fix issues that people face basically with the budget? Because I know if you get the budget right, film production will go on successfully well. They work hand in hand. So how can we fix something like that? They don't even understand that they have to create a budget. They just call people up and say, oh, I get this work for you, go collect 50,000. You call this person. I don't even understand what I'm saying. Like, they don't even have a proper budget drawn up. So in situations like that, how can we fix it? What would you advise that should be done when it comes to budgeting, and when you receive funding? How can you make sure that whatever money you receive from executive producer or a funder is used for the project from start to finish, and you are not having any hiccups in between?
Wow, that's so wild. But for any production, whether big budget or low budget, whatever budget it is, I think the first thing and like the most important thing is for you to allocate your funds. Like, you can't, project money is project money. You can't mix and match. So if you're not budgeting it where it should be, I'm not sure how maybe it's a charity work, but you have to account for every line item. So I can't relate to that, but at the core of it, you received 5 naira, you have to allocate for every penny spent, and you just can't say, oh, because you have 5 naira, you have to blow it up. We have to know where's the penny of, excuse me. If we are working with 5 naira, we have to be sure where the money is going to. 1 naira is 1 naira going to post-production, is 2 naira going to production. Even in production, where gets what? Is it cast? Is it crew members? Is it location? Is it costume? Is it, depending on the kind of projects you are working with, you have to allocate for every line item, and this is not a guesswork. You have to sit down and actually do the work. And if you're not doing that, maybe it's a charity project, and I can't say anything outside of
Because there are a few people like close friends in the same industry that we've spoken together, and I hear someone saying, "Oh, can you imagine? Because somebody introduced me to somebody, and like a company or an organization, and as soon as I get the money, they're asking me for 10%."
For what?
And I'm like, does person not understand that like it's funding for a project? Whoever it is that is giving you that money already made analysis, already just prepared data and say, okay, if I invest so amount of money, I'm getting X, Y, Z. I don't expect you guys to be short of certain amount of money on set. I have given you what is needed for your production. So why is person coming to ask you for 10% just for introducing? Or you hear that, oh, some people receive some funding and they use it for personal stuff. And I'm like, oh, like, how does that work? Like, I really don't know how it works. But at the end of the day, where I come from, the world where I come from, I've just come to realize that for every penny that you receive, every naira, every amount you receive, you have to account for it. Especially when you now have to, like, if you're working like with like all these big production companies where you have to prepare like a cost report at the end of the day where they want to see how you spend their money. Like I'm shocked. So that's why I asked this question, because everybody seems to have different opinion about this whole idea of budget, and they're like, okay, I have a certain amount and I can spend a certain amount for like 4 or 5 projects at the same time, which it doesn't work like that. And that's why I was asking. But thank you for answering that question. So I would like to ask, I know you're on set right now. So which of the projects have you like basically you how have you worked in the past, and how have you been able to manage talent, especially the A-list? They're called A-list artists. How have you been able to manage them? Because I know that some A-list artists can be very difficult on set. And few people have come out to ask for my channel saying that I had this situation with this particular actor, and the particular actor will tell me, oh, I have to come on set when I have to come on set. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. What is in the person's contract? So have you ever been in situations like that, and how have you been able to handle situations like that?
Dealing with actors is can be interesting, if I like to use that word. But I think that it still boils down to who the person is, because even with the inconsistency or the divaness of some actors, there are still pretty decent actors that respect you as a person and, also respect the work that they do. But in terms of, having to deal with a diva actor, I would say that a lot of times we just have to come to a middle ground, because at the end of the day, money is on speed dial, money is running, and you have to keep your ego aside, because ego is the how do I even say it? Ego kills production, and once you can do away with your ego and face it as a bit controversial. Dealing with actors on set, I would say that one of the ways that I have been able to navigate that as a producer is having a good assistant director who, in a case where an actor is not forthcoming, we sort of reschedule, rework the schedule to say, oh, okay, actor A is not forthcoming. How can we shoot, or what can we shoot now that we don't have this actor? And having to do that, a lot of time helped me out of that situation. I don't think I have experienced anything that is beyond rescheduling or any of those things. But I mean, I have heard of worst cases where an actor is not, collected money and does not show up and, all of that. Personally, I have not had to encounter that, at least not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Okay, that's fine. So I've had people talk about in the past, oh, we started in pre-production, everything was going on smoothly, production was going on smoothly. And when it comes to post, everything just goes crazy. That's the word. Everything just so in situations like that, what would you advise a producer? Because a producer is supposed to stick to end from like start to finish. So when you deliver, so basically in the past, yes, based on your contract, sometimes I feel a producer is supposed to work from start to finish, from pre to post production until you deliver. I feel that's the job of a producer. But in some cases, sometimes you just need the producer to just deliver from production to production. So another question I'd like to ask is, most times I realize that in a part of the world I don't want to mention, producers just feel that their job is just for them to just work on set. But a lot of people don't realize that the job of a producer actually starts even before you go on set. But there are a lot of people that feel that It's only when I come on set, as soon as I'm done on set, that is the end. So in situations like that, where some executive producers or they maybe like they invite A-list, because we have A-list producers at the end of the day, and the producer says, "Oh, sorry, I have other projects. I can only be there on set." So what do you think can fix things when things go wrong, or who do you think can fix things when things go wrong on that set?
This notion of fixing things is a rat hole, because if everyone does what they are supposed to do, there won't be anything for you to fix. Yes, I mean, Murphy's Law, whatever will happen, whatever will go bad, right? But I feel like if the producer does their job, the DOP does his job, every other department does their job, I don't think there will be any fire to quench. So in a case where you have a project on fire, where there is a back and forth,
the producer does not even realize that if you do not fix things from beginning, your PC or your production manager might not even know what they're supposed to do. Because I've worked with a lot of production managers and PCs, and I just realized that they lack knowledge in what their roles are essentially. So I don't know what contracts or what basis they employ some. So in situations like that, what do you think the producer should do or look out for to ensure that the project goes on successfully?
I'm actually a bit worried for such projects. Because I mean, there are different departments. I mean, different departments are meant for different purposes. If everyone does what they are supposed to do, then there shouldn't be any need for fixing, any of those things. And I think where that problem comes from is where some producers are trying to be smart, instead of hiring certain people to do certain jobs, they would want to, I don't say micromanage, but sort of collapse a lot of departments on one person to save costs. I don't think that's the right way to go about it. Hire people that can do the job. Hire appropriate people for appropriate position. Producers, don't try to manage what you shouldn't be managing, because in some cases where you think you are trying to save costs, you might end up shooting yourself, and you wouldn't want to use the money for something else to save something else.
Yeah, so that's the word. Yes, producers need to be very aware. Actually, some producers don't even actually know their role to even start with. So I have seen producers that they don't even know their role. When you ask them, "Oh, as a producer, okay," because I've been fortunate enough to interview one of the interview producers, and when you ask them, "Oh, so basically, what are you bringing onto the team?" and they just generalize it. They are not saying in depth. They're not giving you an in-depth answer on what their roles are, what they should look out for. I understand, like in Nigeria, basically, a lot of people just want to get their productions done. They just want to churn out content and all. But internationally, on the other side, they're very deliberate on who comes on set, the kind of job the producer has done over time. Is the person responsible? Does the person keep to details? Because those are the things the producer needs to take note of. Are you the kind of producer when you go on set, everything just is just in disarray? Documents are not sorted out well, what happens to the team and stuff like that. But with time, like you said, producers are supposed to know that, oh, fine, you can actually have a production without even quenching any fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the end of the day, you can. So that's why we bring people like you to our channel, to our for interviews, for you to enlighten a lot of new filmmakers, even the existing ones, because we have a lot of existing ones that they'll tell you, "Oh, this is how something is." Okay, like now, let me give an example. We reached out to somebody and said, "Oh, we wanted to work on the project with this particular person," and the person was like, "Oh, what's the budget of the production?" And I'm like, that should not be the first person you should be asking. You are managing a talent. We want to work with the talent. We need a commitment from the talent saying that, "Oh, I am interested in this project," or "I want to commit into the project." You are not in the place to ask me that what's the budget of my production. So if I don't have the so-called big budget? Are you telling me your talent cannot work on my project? Are you telling me? So for us to reach out to your talent, you should know that we can afford your talent.
Well, I mean, they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know if you don't tell them. But I guess the reason why that person is asking, everybody has priorities. Some want to, they want to be sure of who is the producer before they bring in their talent. Some, they want to know how much is the bag, some want to know what story. Yeah, some would want you to send them the treatment. They want to know what the story is about before even talking about money. So I think that for that person, maybe their priority as at that time was the money, and that's their start off point for them. But it varies for different people, really.
Yeah, so I'm not saying the person shouldn't ask about. If you're asking me, if you want to ask me for money, I feel you should even ask me, oh, what's the story all about? Like you said, I should be able to know who the producer is, what kind of jobs the producer has done. Does the producer have credibility? Regardless, even if it's a new production company or maybe somebody that's been in existence for 2 or 3 years. I don't even understand what I'm saying. Not you coming to ask me what's the entire budget of my project. No, it's not in your place to ask, because on the other side of the world, like when it comes to international productions, they get funding based on different phases of production. So if I'm in development stage, I need to know if I'm applying for funds, I need to tell them, oh, these are the actors I need to use. So for me to tell them, oh, this is the actor I want to use, or this is the talent I want to use, I should have gotten like a form of commitment from the actor saying, oh, okay, I'm willing to work on this project. But not you coming to ask me initially, telling me what's the entire budget of, of my project. It doesn't work. I feel that's not professional from my experience, because internationally, producers don't even, like, talents don't even, their managers don't even, like, ask questions like that. They'll first call, like you said, ask for treatment, let's know, okay, what's the story about? But even for a producer to even reach out to you and say, oh, I want to use this particular actor, can I use your talent? They would have done their research. That is how much I feel a producer should have worked diligently.
Yeah, but I mean, again, you can't be sure of everyone at the end of the day. And sometimes some of these talent management ask some of these questions as a way to, instead of telling you they don't want to be on your project, they sort of ask you ridiculous questions or bring up ridiculous conditions, just a way to put you off, as opposed to telling you that, oh, I'm sorry, we can't work with you on this project, or all of those things. But I mean, at the end of the day, communication is important, and if you can't communicate your why or why you are doing certain things, I think that's where the problem, sometimes arises.
Yes, yes. So thank you very much, Blessing. Thank you for the time. Despite your busy schedule, you have been able to like give us opportunity to have an interview. So our fellow subscribers, like we said, we would like you to share, and we'll drop a Blessing's link in the description below, where you can also reach out to her. I know Blessing is very open when it comes to questions. You can reach out to her and ask her, like, if you're having any issues on your set, or if you're new to the whole business of filmmaking, you can just reach out to her and ask her, oh, how can I do this better? How can we do this better? And we just want things to be better for every filmmaker at the end of the day. And everybody makes money. They go into the big projects and everybody goes out there at the end of the day. Thank you very much, Blessing. Have a nice week. We're so happy to be on your show. Thank you very much once again.
Happy to be here. Thank you too.
Thank you very much. Bye bye. Have a great evening from this side.
It's almost yeah, it's almost 12.